turn your cameras on, if that's okay. Okay, I see that we have started recording now, so I will do my greetings again. Ahlan wa sahlan. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thanks for being here today in this workshop. We will tackle the topic of creating an ecosystem, a local ecosystem for passion-based learning, okay? As this is gonna be a very active workshop, a very hands-on workshop, I am going to ask you all if you can turn your cameras on. Sorry. So if you could just turn your cameras on so we can see each other, we can connect to each other. That would be great. So please go ahead. Okay. I don't know if the attendees have permissions to turn their cameras on. Okay. Well, so let's do something else. Whilst we troubleshoot this tech little piece, I'm going to ask everyone. Okay, no problem. So if you cannot connect your camera, that's not a big deal either. That would be better if you can, but not a problem if you cannot. So what I'm going to ask you now to do is you can introduce yourself in the chat box. So if you can write what your name is, what your role is, and where you connect from, that would be awesome. I'm happy to start. So my name is Joan, as you might know. My role is the lead of training at LearnLife, the company where I work. And what I do, so what my role is in more detail, is to support schools to drive processes of change, to drive, like change management process through training, and to implement different practices and methodologies in the reality through training, through consultancy, and through our support. Okay. So I do encourage you, if you can just type in the chat, what's your role, where you come from. Yeah. So role plus where you come from. Okay. Okay, I see we're having some people joining at once now. Welcome, everyone. Ahlan wa sahlan to everyone. It's great to have you here in this workshop. Okay, so what we're doing now is that we're introducing ourselves to the chat. Yeah. So if you can just type what your role is, where you come from. So that would be great. If you are an educator, so which subjects, if you're a school principal, if you're a school leader. Okay, so I see some English teachers, computer, IT, Arabic language culture teaching. Okay, quality coordinator at an IB school, science teaching. Okay, well, that's awesome. Thank you very much. For the ones who are joining now, Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Shukran for being in this call. And I'm going to encourage you, if you can, to turn on your camera, if that's possible. If you can turn on your camera, that would be better, because I want us all to have conversation. So at least turn on your mic, because this is going to be an active workshop, a participatory workshop. Okay? Okay, we have an edupreneur, a founder. We have English teachers, mathematics teachers. Okay, well, that's awesome. Welcome, everyone. Good. So we're gonna get started. First of all, I will just briefly introduce who LearnLife is. So the organization I work for, the organization I represent today in this workshop, And I'm gonna just share a little video that I will display through my screen sharing here, settings, okay? Thanks, Amira, to turn on your camera. I do encourage the other ones to follow Amira's leads too. Okay. So let me just share this video with you all. Okay. So with this video illustrates who LearnLife is and what do we do. So just before the video, LearnLife is a learning organization, and what we're trying to do is to make a positive influence in the world of education. And we're trying to support schools, communities, governments to implement those changes they want to implement in their realities. From the reality of a classroom, of a teacher, to the reality of a school leader, or the reality of a regional government, okay? And today we're gonna see the example of a regional government in Catalonia, in Barcelona, who decided to implement passion-based learning, okay? Before that, let's go back and let's have a look at who LearnLife is, yes? So who the organization I work is. Okay, so you tell me if you see my screen correctly. Can you see the video image? Can you say like a yes, no? Yeah? Yes, you can see it? Okay, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Perfect. So I will start playing this video. It's a 3-minute video that covers who LearnLife is, okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
But there's no audio, no sound.
There's no audio. Okay, wow. Let's troubleshoot that. How can we play it in a way that there's audio? Let me just look at it. Share audio. Okay. So tell me if now it works. Is now working, the audio? Is it working?
The video is working, but the sound is not working because I think you're not playing yet.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So let's try again. Okay, we're gonna go here. So just verbally say if is working the sound or not, yeah?
Raise your hand.
Do as you're told.
Don't go outside the line.
Yeah.
Memorize, regurgitate.
Measure, repeat.
Don't make mistakes.
Too slow, too bad.
Too fast, slow down. Passions, let's be serious.
Why is it that the world is changing so rapidly, yet children globally remain in education systems that barely differ from those of their grandparents? To make matters worse, the job market is changing faster than schools can keep up. By 2030, 65% of youths will need to find or create meaningful work in areas that don't currently exist, and 800 million people will need to reskill or be out of a job due to automation. The COVID-19 pandemic has only exacerbated this problem. Students and teachers have had enough and have realized a change is needed now. We are at a point in time where there is an opportunity to finally overhaul the current education system and its outdated practices.
At this place, we have a group of wonderful learners that now have a unique opportunity to actually live a new learning paradigm. a learning paradigm that is learner-centered and that focuses on purpose-inspired and personal learning that can actually replace instructional education.
This new way of learning has been developed based on research, best practice examples, and 27 of the most effective learning methodologies from over 100 hugely innovative schools around the world.
We have implemented the new learning into our Lighthouse Learn Hubs in Barcelona, where we have a community of 170 lifelong learners exploring and living in this way of learning.
Learners are supported with the space and freedom to explore their passions and their life purpose. Now we are bringing this better way of learning to the world. LearnLife is providing an opportunity to revamp learning environments globally so that learning can truly flourish. We are turning schools into creative and digitally empowered learn hubs. We are transforming teachers into world-class learning guides. And we are paving the way for students everywhere to become passionate, lifelong learners. Learning is not just a right, it's a foundation for a better future. There are many competing priorities on this planet, from global warming to poverty to political unrest. But lifelong learning is undoubtedly the root of all solutions to what our destinies would otherwise await. The current path of education is already obsolete, and this is one of the biggest risks for mankind.
Stand up. Speak up.
It's time to break out of that box.
Okay, so can you hear me now? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, so now we've got an overview of LearnLife as an organization. Yes. So what we've seen is that LearnLife. Well, thank you everybody on the chat. I see that now there's a lot of yeses here. Thanks. I would encourage interaction on the chat. Yeah. So let's just use the chat to keep it fresh, to ask comments, to ask questions. Okay. So this is rather an active workshop. Yeah. So as I was mentioning, LearnLife. We found the LearnLife with a purpose. We've tackled the idea of putting lifelong learning into the center of the discussion in terms of education. Yes. So because we think that having people who's able to learn, relearn, and learn and do continuous learning throughout their lives, it's critical in a world that it's ever changing and ever evolving. Yes. And if we accommodate our youth, our children, to only study, like only learn when learning is done to them. So when it's provided by an adult, when it's provided by a teacher, they won't be prepared to self-learn when they don't have that adult or that teacher next to them. So what we always say is that we have to build the habits of curiosity, of critical thinking, problem solving, and of autonomy. Like we want our youth, our learners, to be independent and to learn throughout their lives. Okay, so that would be our core idea, or a set of our core ideas. From that, now we know this workshop is about passion-based learning. So now we're going to see what role passion-based learning plays in this larger idea of lifelong learning. But before we jump into that, I would like to just give an open question that I encourage you to answer in the chat or to unmute yourselves and verbally share. So the question is the following: what do we talk when we talk about culture? So when we talk about a strong learning culture, what does that mean? So I would like us to think about what does that mean, or what ideas come to our mind when we hear this concept of building a strong learning culture. How do we differentiate the culture from one school of another school? How can we detect what organizational culture a school has? Okay, so let's just take 2 minutes There's no wrong or right answer. I just want us all to get into the zone of thinking on these topics. So let's think about culture. Here, maybe if you want written support, so I will just type the same question here in the chat. Yeah. What do we talk when we talk about culture? What is a culture? And I want to please encourage you to share out or type in the chat. Habits, okay. The habits that drive our day-to-day. Awesome, Nancy, thank you very much. The beliefs, the things we believe on, those things we take for granted, those things we do without even noticing, everything that builds our day-to-day. Tradition, customs, absolutely, okay. And this is maybe culture in a more broad sense, no? When we talk about Arabic culture, Spanish culture, etc. So there are cultures that define regions and nations and countries. But now I will change my question a little bit. What are those indicators that define the culture of one organization? Okay, ceremonies, heritage. Yes, Omnia, please go ahead. Okay, so I see Saad, an interesting comment. Every place of learning has its own culture. Okay, but my question now would be, how do we identify, how can we grasp which culture is the predominant one in one learning center or another learning center? How can we say this culture is this way and that culture is that way? What do we see? What's giving us those hints to understand that? I would encourage you to provide a very clear example of, okay, student-centered. Okay, that would be a culture that's centered in the students. How do we see if a culture is student-centered or not? So maybe that's a question coming from Nancy, from Nancy's comment. If we see that a culture is student-centered, how do we see that? What do we see in a classroom that it's student-centered? So, okay, question for everybody. What do we see in a classroom? That's student-centered. Okay, methods, strategies, the common sense, the reactions, the independence, the responsibility, the ownership, the interactions, the engagement of the learners, the teamwork. Okay, if there's teamwork or if there isn't teamwork, the type of activities, how they are designed, the type of relationships, how they are built, how do we interact with other people, the respect we show, yes, the agency of the learner, okay, the active participation of the learner in leading the process, in expressing their ideas, okay. So all these items. So imagine if someone that knows nothing about education and goes into a classroom for the first time of their lives and observe at the space, at the relationships, at the type of activities, at the type of engagement, this person would be able to define what's the culture that it's predominant in one space or another. Yes? Okay, the sharing out, the ability of self-learning, setting their own goals, going ahead with them, self-direction, autonomy. Okay, awesome. All right, so I have the feeling that we have a very common understanding in the call. So the 50 participants in the call, I think we have an agreed understanding of what culture would be for us. Yeah. So when we talk about culture, it's habits, customs, shapes, relationships, the space, also just a good indicator of culture, the rhythms, communication, type of activities, engagement, etc. Okay. So now what we're gonna look at is how, so in which way passion-based learning can influence a culture. Yes. So I will show you another example. So I will share another video. Okay. And then you tell me which type of culture is that. So I will share the video. It's not in English, so I'm sorry, it's in Catalan language, but it has English subtitles. Yes, so I will play the video again, and I would like us all in the chat to write down what's the type of culture that we perceive from that video. Okay? Awesome. So I'll go ahead. Okay, let me make sure I share it right now properly. So just to put you in context, this is a video that we have recorded in a little school that we work with. It's a school named Acesco near Barcelona. And it's a school that they came to us, they came to Learn Life, to the training at Learn Life, asking support, asking consulting about how can we boost the engagement of our learners. So how can we have our learners being more engaged, doing more things with their hands, entering more in the reflexive processes. Okay. So can you all see the video? Yeah.
L'objectiu principal de la col·laboració entre LearnLife i Acesco és donar més veu i responsabilitat als alumnes, perquè desenvolupin habilitats que els permetin ser més autònoms dins i fora de l'escola. El resultat és el Nou Pro, una assignatura que combina els principis del moviment Maker amb l'aprenentatge basat en interessos i passions.
El que destacaria jo del Nou Pro en general és que cada lab t'acompanya a fer una cosa diferent i tens moltes coses a fer dins d'un lab.
Un lab és un espai on l'alumne té la capacitat de fer realitat els projectes seus, ambientats, òbviament, al lab en qüestió. Per exemple, si l'alumne vol fer un videojoc, anirà al lab de robòtica i programació per poder dur a terme el seu projecte.
Amb què es diferencia un lab d'una classe? Amb què és diferent?
Que per exemple, estem amb gent d'altres cursos.
O sigui, les edats estan barrejades.
Sí.
I què penseu d'això?
Està molt bé.
Sí?
Podem preguntar, podem fer una mica que mai pensàvem d'un altre curs. I a més també està molt bé perquè jo diria que el profe és l'última persona a la que preguntes, perquè al final els teus companys t'ajuden.
El rol del guia no és el mateix que el de podria ser un professor amb una classe magistral. La part més important de la part d'un guia és saber fer les preguntes correctes perquè l'alumne pugui trobar les solucions ell mateix.
Nosaltres triem el nostre propi projecte, agafem i posem els nostres objectius i els repartim entre els dies. I especifiquem si hi ha si no els hem començat, si estan en procés o si els hem acabat.
La idea una mica és treballar, aprendre les coses a mesura de les necessites. Per exemple, jo, problemes matemàtics. No sabia què significava elevacions al cub, elevacions al quadrat, perquè estic fent una casa i m'ho posava tot al cub. I jo volia saber què significava el cub i com passar-ho al quadrat.
I ja no és tant seguir només el profe i també que estàs amb gent que no estàs acostumat a estar. I és una experiència nova i està bé provar-la.
Jo crec que també el nou pro ens fa com una simulació de com és la vida fora de l'escola, que és molt autònoma i que has de prendre les decisions tu sol sense ningú que et mani. I doncs jo crec que és una bona forma per acostumar els alumnes al que depara el futur.
Okay, so one second. Can you see my video? Can you see my thumbnail? Do I appear in the image now? Just to verify. Yes, I do. Okay, awesome. So, Mariam, yes, we were asking the question of how would you define the culture of the video? Yes, from the images you've seen, from the text you read, how would you define that culture? So, student-centered environment. Okay, what else? What else have we seen there? Just feel free to type in the chat. Peer-to-peer learning. Okay. What are things that we've observed there? Cooperative, social, collaborative, peer-to-peer learning. Okay. Digitalization, AI. Okay. What else have we seen in that video? For me, something that is very important on that video, I don't know if it's very clear on the English translation with the subtitles, but is that there's a lot of cross-collaboration through different ages. So in Spain, usually there are different age grades, right? Well, similar to IB and so on. So learners don't get to work together that much between different grades. So in this project, what we have done is that we've created a training in a way that when the teachers would implement it in the classroom, they would mix learners of different ages together, which has strengthened a lot the culture of the school and has strengthened the community, the sense of community, the peer-to-peer, the mentorship. So if you are, like a 12-year-old being alongside a 14 or a 15-year-old, it's a thing. No, it's quite something to be there, to look up to them, right? Very good point here, Mariam. Teacher acts a facilitator. So the teacher is not an instructional teaching provider, but it's more of a facilitator of learning. It's a guide. Yes. So the teacher guides. The teacher does not forces learning into learners, but it motivates them. It asks the right questions. It provokes them through questioning. Yes. So we can boost that critical thinking. Amazing, Sad. Students have a clear passion and they do things they love. So passion-based learning, it's all about that. It's all about building the awareness to know where you stand, what things interest you, what do you love, what are you passionate about? Because then you look at school with different eyes. Like you go to the math subject and you say, okay, this is going to be useful for my passion. So we open the door to transferability. So when you have a clear passion and a clear vision, or you know where you want to go, then you can start transferring all the knowledge around that first was in different separate silos. You bring it into your passion, your stream, what is meaningful to you. Okay. And this is something maybe adults, we do spontaneously, organically, right? Because we just do it. But if we start doing it before, if learners do it purposefully, they can find a meaning into the school. Because sometimes learners are totally disengaged. They hate being there. They see no point in being in the classroom. It seems a total loss of time. Yes. So that's a big point there. Saad, thank you very much. Okay. So now that we've looked at the case of Athesco, I want to share about the case of building the ecosystem of passion-based learning in the region of Barcelona, in Catalonia. Yeah. So this is the title of the workshop: how to activate an ecosystem for passion-based learning. So what we have done is, with our partner Athesco, so we worked there, we had this impact in their school, and then what we have done is that we documented that very well. So when you do trainings, when you do cool stuff in your classroom, please make sure to document. That's super important. We all educators need that. We need to document, capture what happens in our classrooms when we do good work, and then we can share and inspire others. Yes. So that's what we have done. We've documented that, and we knocked the door to the regional government in Catalonia, and we said, hey, we think we have a very good idea here. We have a very good project here, and we want to do it in other schools too. And they said, okay, yes, like, let's create a proposal, let's put together, and we applied for a grant, and everything went along, and right now we're there. Like, we are activating a school ecosystem with 10 different schools, different sizes, different territories, different settings. So some schools are private, other schools are public, other schools are semi-private, we have international schools. So we are building this network between schools that have one same goal. Because when you as a school, as an individual, are trying to implement something, sometimes it can be tricky because a lot of questions might arise. Am I doing this well? Should I change it? Should I do it differently? If you have a full ecosystem of 10 schools, or 3 or 20, but more than one, then you can start building a network of support. You can start weaving a community of practice. So that's what we have tried to do, and that's what we're doing. We have designed a training for all the schools at once, where teachers of different schools are mixed and together. They are part of the same live sessions that we facilitate. We go to their schools, they go to each other's schools. Like, we say, okay, we're going to do a meeting in this school, and the other ones come to that one school, and we're building relationships. We're building this community of practice. We run feedback sessions, we run critical friend groups, saying, okay, how are you doing this laboratory? Because they are implementing laboratories, no? These labs, the passion-based labs. So I'm doing a lab on 3D modeling or digital tools. So I want to see how that same topic is working out or not in another school, in another territory. So the teachers have each other's contact. We have an online platform so they can communicate and they can support each other. Yes? I see there's a question here in the chat. All about passion. What about if there is no passion, like someone doesn't love math, but it is mandatory course for students? Okay, that is a very good question. So passion-based learning, it is about finding your passion and asking yourself those questions of what do I like? So what we've done is we created, well, the teachers of every school have created different labs, no? Just to put an example of some labs they have created. The fashion lab, the design lab, the 3D modeling lab. So all the labs were quite maker-like, quite hands-on-like. So they were not, language lab or math lab. So all labs were rather looking at the professional world and rather looking at, not at subjects per se, but things that can be more transversal, yes? More transdisciplinary. So then what we have done is we created those labs, these 5, 6 labs in every school. And in one school, I remember one learner said, okay, my passion is soccer. I like to play football. It's the thing I like the most. And there's no football lab. So my passion is not being recognized by my school. And I think that is a very fair point. But the whole thing about passion-based learning is to activate that awareness of how can you use what you have around to channel your passion. And what this learner has done was, he went to the fashion lab and has created a t-shirt for his soccer team and has created it from scratch, like designed everything and created the full t-shirt. Then went to the 3D modeling lab and has created a fake stadium, like has redesigned the stadium of his team and has created it, has printed it with everything, with all the seats, the columns. It was amazing. Then he went to the podcast, like radio lab, and has retransmit plays, games, matches of his team winning about everybody else. And he has created a script, he has created, so there's a lot of literacy skills there. Yes. So it's not about to say, okay, learners, your passions have to fit in these 5 things that we propose, but it's more of, we propose these things and many others, but how can you use all that as a resource for you to channel your passion? I don't know if Omnia, I have answered your question with that. So for me, it's more of a helping the learner to look at it in a different way. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good. So what I would like now is, can I get like a thumbs up from the attendees here, from the workshop attendees, to see if you're getting along? Like what I'm saying is, does it resonate to you? Do you understand more or less? Yeah, you got it. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So if we come back to the idea, of culture that we mentioned at the beginning, then what we see is that passion-based learning is just one way to influence culture. So through passion-based learning, which is a methodology, it converts into a subject, there are schedules, products learners create, tools, etc. You are influencing culture. You're nurturing a different culture that, as you all mentioned, is more learner-centered, is more supportive of the learner in terms of not instructional, but really encouraging. Yes, really encouraging the learner to take the ownership. Yeah, and important is the role of the educator changes from the teacher to a guide. Yeah. Okay. So what I would like to do now, I will just share real quick, because I have prepared some images of projects these learners have done and they are doing, and just for us to get more of a picture. Yes. Okay. Okay, so can you all see my screen? Yeah. Can I get a verbal confirmation?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So here what we see is just pictures of the work the learners do in these laboratories. Okay, we've mentioned the laboratories are very maker oriented. Yeah. So different tests, like things around fashion, embroidery, 3D modeling, 3D printing, more fashion towards items to objects, like a bag we see here. We see the learners presenting to each other, a lot of peer-to-peer, a lot of giving feedback, yes, of not at the end of the project, but in between of the project. Like we stop one day, say, okay, at which point are we? So instead of the teacher being the only one that is qualified as a feedback provider, the learners are also good feedback providers. Here, a learner who made a house for their little dog, no? Because sometimes it's useful to say what my passion is. That's a big question that it's difficult to answer at once. It's a question that you can answer through time. But maybe you can ask yourself, what is something that interests me, or just something I need and can benefit from? So like a little dog house. Okay, so that's totally fine. Pillow. Oh, that was this project. I loved it so much. This project was it's 3D printed and Arduino code, and it's basically a humidity tester. So a learner has created this tester to see where the most moist areas at his home, no? So to understand better how climatization works at his place. And I think, well, that was, I don't know, very good idea. It's very awesome. Another learner who wanted to create a keyboard, but a gaming keyboard, a keyboard that it's unique for different reasons, and he designed it from scratch and created from scratch every single piece on the 3D printer. And here we see how the learner is printing it. Yeah. So another learner who said, well, I'm not sure about my passion, but what I know is that there are many learners who use their device in the classroom where they should not do it. So I will just take the time to design a hotel for cell phones. And he created the phone hotel where every learner can park their cell phone before accessing the classroom. So no one is distracted, and the cell phones are very well curated here, very well taken care of in their little hotel. Another learner, well, that was, I think, very, very cool. He created paddles, like to play ping pong. And then that project evolved into another project, which was, let's create a table tennis. And they created a full table tennis. And well, on, different projects, but overall, it's this idea of learners following their interests, or at least exploring different interests and sharing out. And again, taking that ownership. So teachers just do a step on the side. So the educator does a step on the side and say, hey, okay, so I won't be the main character of the learning of this youth anymore, but it shall be them. So I just take a step on the side and I guide them. Yeah. Okay. So do we have any questions at this point regarding what passion-based learning is and what has been implemented in this very school? I don't know if we have any questions or comments. So please, if you do, please go ahead in the chat. I see that's very clear for everybody. I will just touch base on the platform we are using to build this large community of practice, this network of educators, because that's one of the points of this workshop. And for me, it's a very powerful one, that two schools together can go, you mean the participants, if they want, they can use the voice, yes? Participants, if you want, you can unmute yourselves and you can share if you have any question or any comment, okay? Okay, Duha, that's a very good question. How do I start this in my classroom? So for me, this is something that has to be aligned with the school's vision. So for me, the first step is creating a unit within the school that can move this forward. For me, when you innovate in your school, it is to move things along if you are totally on your own. So for me, one first step is to get the support of your team, to get the support of leadership. So for me, there's an exercise of pitching to leadership saying, hey, there are evidences of cool stuff that other schools do with very positive outcomes. Let's explore that together. Let's see how that can help our school to address some needs. Okay, so for me, it has to be a school-wide project, because otherwise, when we talk about implementing passion-based learning, it's not that you change some little practices in your classroom, in your everyday practice, but you're doing something that it's school-wide and has a large impact on schedules, on assessments, on relationships and culture, etc., etc. So it's kind of a large thing to do. I mean, large, 3 teachers, 4 teachers, 5 teachers, that's fine. Like you don't need 20. But if you do it on your own, it's very difficult. Yeah. Okay, so what I will do now is just to, okay, go ahead here. And I want to share with you how does the platform look like, if that's okay. So I talk about creating a large community of practice, a large platform between different educators from different backgrounds working in different schools, so they can come along together and share best practices around passion-based learning. Okay, so again, apologize because it's everything in Catalan language. But in a nutshell, what we do is that here we have the list of every school. This is a platform that we have created, by the way. It's a Mighty Networks supported, but we have created at LearnLife. So we have all the schools here, and every school has a little, calendar of when their training sessions are, with all the links here. They have a list of materials they can go to, they can use. Here they have let's say a catalog or a summary of all the training sessions they have gone. So a little summary after the session if they want to check back. They also have a little chat here to ask each other questions, like quick things and so on. And here, for me, it's the most interesting one. This one is the network. So this space I'm sharing here is where all educators can come together. What they do here is that they record videos of themselves talking about their schools and the challenges they have. And they do this thing maybe once a month to say, hey, so this month in my school, this is what had happened. And the other ones share their comments. They provide their feedback. They say, hey, you should do this. Why don't you try that? This happens to me too. I'm having these challenges too. Okay. So this way, what we make sure is that they can start building the habits. They can start building the culture of sharing out, asking for feedback, etc. And they build this network of support. So when we, the trainers, get out of the scene, this can continue to grow and this can continue to be successful. Because the worst thing that can happen in training is that it's awesome when the trainer is there, but it does not thrive when the trainer is not there anymore. So we don't want that. We want our trainings to have long-lasting impact and to be successful. Okay. All right. So now what I propose we do is that we take this time. We have around 40 minutes left. Okay. So what I propose is that we do a practical exercise. Yes. So the practical exercise would be to think, to identify what are things that we want to change in our school or in our region or in our classroom. So to think about from these different layers, from the role you play, if you're an educator, if you're a lead, if you're a government official. So depending on what your role is, where do you want to influence and how can you do that? Yes. And what I will propose is that I will just give some bullet points now, some hints. I will give kind of a clear prompt, and then each one of us will go on their own to start thinking, to start prototyping, to start strategizing. How can we do that? And if we have time at the end, we will come back and we will just give each other feedback. Yes, we will try to, again, do it in a way that it's interactive and we will give each other feedback. Yeah, just to illustrate in a very small way, in a quick way, how a community of practice could look like. Okay, how does that sound? Can I have some like thumbs up? Have we understood the idea? Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's just take 5 minutes each to think about the following. So I'm adding the question here. what's something you would like to change or modify from your classroom, your school, or your region, and why? Yes. Why do we want to change that? So instead of thinking, I want to implement passion-based learning in my school, let's think, what is not working in my school? Yes. So why I want to implement that, what I want to change. So first of all, let's think what is not working in my school that I would like to change, or what culture shift do I want to make? Yes. So if we go back to the case of Afesco, the case of the video I shared, they saw what was not working is learners are not engaged, they don't like to go at school, they are not motivated, they don't own their learning process, they don't care, they don't connect among different age groups. So then is where we decided, okay, passion-based learning is a solution to that. Yes. Is that clear? Do you understand my kind of the concept behind that? So instead of saying I want passion-based learning in my school, let's think first what is not working in my school. Okay. Here, I will share with you all a little prompt again. So there's a set of questions that you can find on this link, a PDF on this link that you can use to ask yourself those questions of what do I want to change? Yes? Let's look at it together real quick, just as an example. I will share my screen. Okay. So it's going to be like that. Yeah. Sorry. Let me go here. Okay, so do you all see my screen, right? You click on documents, okay?
Yeah, I can see it.
So if you click on documents, yeah, here you have this one. So the thought-provoking questions to start change. So you can use this document to ask yourself the questions if you want, okay? It's not mandatory you use it. It's just like a resource that I put there if you want to use it, okay? So I see that in the chat, someone has already answered. The problem in our schools is that we're very exam-oriented, and only after the result, like the summative result, and not on the learning. I mean, Amira, that is a very good point. That is a challenge in terms of assessment. Okay, so here we would look at what should we shift in the assessment model? And first, why is the assessment model this way? Maybe all teachers want it to be this way, and all teachers feel safer doing it this way. So first of all, we should do a little process to the teacher saying, okay, what do we need to change that? Yeah. So again, what we will do now is that each one of us, we're going to take time. Okay, we're going to take 15 minutes. Yeah, each one of us to really think, what do I want to change in my school? Yes. And we're gonna write it down. You can do it on a piece of paper if you want, but I do encourage you to do that, just to make the most out of this session. Yeah, so just go into a piece of paper and to start writing down, okay, what are the top things that really don't work in my school? So as Amira said, Amira is a very good example. So I think assessment systems, it does not work because we are only focused on results. Okay, so let's brainstorm that. Let's create a bullet point list of all those things that don't work. Yeah, that would be the first step. So what I'll do is that I'll just be here. If you want to ask me questions, if you want to use the chat, please go ahead. But now, yes, feel free to have your camera off and work on your own to create this list of things that don't work in your school. Yeah. But you do it on a piece of paper. You can write it down, like that list. And then what we do is then we can share it out. But first of all, take the time for you to do that. Okay, so I encourage you to do this exercise from your role, like taking into account your role, like from a principal point of view, from a teacher point of view, from a head of department point of view. Okay. Okay, so Maha is raising an interesting point here in the chat too, about how learners in contexts of schools with high fees, they take for granted that as their parents pay the money, that money entitles them to get a grade, and that's it. No? That for me is a large cultural problem, because it's not only the learner here, but maybe here it's also about the parents, because maybe that is a concept, that is a message that the parents are communicating to their kids. Hey, son, don't worry, I'm paying crazy money to your school, so you will pass all the exams. Perhaps it's like that too. So that is a very good point. Anyways, thanks. Okay, so let's just continue this exercise. Each one of you individually, bullet point. Let's tackle at least 10 things that don't work at your school, or that you wanted to work differently at your school. Yeah? We're going to give each other 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, you have this bullet point list of 10 items, like these things that don't work in my school or in my regional level or from my classroom level. Yeah. Maha, that is a very interesting point that you're raising here. Very interesting point, and this can only be tackled through, again, like all school supporting you. Okay, so let's give ourselves 2 more minutes, and I want you to have that bullet point list, so, or that paragraph if you want, and you now put it in the chat. Yeah, so everybody else can read what are some kind of challenges you see in your school, but not in terms of things don't work organizationally, but things you lack. I don't know, like our learners lack agency, or our learners, the assessment we use at our school, it's only grade focused, it's only exam focused. So what are some challenges you observe? Yeah. So let's give ourselves 2 minutes to type that on the chat. Yeah. Okay, I see a very good point here from Marwa. Students are not motivated because they do not know how to benefit from what they are being taught. That is, from my perspective, a transferability problem. So learners don't know how to transfer something they've learned into a context to move it into another context. Yes. The relationship between the students and the teachers can be a problem because teachers still use the way of authority with their students. That is a very good point too. Duha, thank you very much. Okay, so Mahmoud is mentioning, I think we should change the way of teaching and how we interact with students. Students find that learning boring because they cannot apply it, what they learn in the school, in their life. That is so a good point, Mahmoud. I mean, if you teach me things that I cannot make use of, I'm so disengaged because I feel I'm wasting my time. Yeah. So learners have to see the value of it. Like we educators can address that having a lot of metacognition conversations and sitting down with the learner or as a group and building the habit of think critically and say, hey, why are you learning this? Or why are you doing this project? Will this benefit you? How can you do it differently? How can you do it faster? How can you do it larger? Yeah, so connecting the dots. Yeah, very good point, Maha. Connecting the lives of the learners to the topics they are working on, so it's more meaningful to them. Yeah. Fatima is mentioning that something that maybe it's lagging in their school is to engage learners in meaningful tasks and projects that connect to their real life applications. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for giving that thought to map out what is not working in my context, in my learning context. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the chance, we're going to take, let's say, well, let me ask a question first. Who feels like presenting in front of the other people? Maybe with the camera off, that's fine, but just with the mic on. Who feels like just verbally presenting? Because it would be awesome if you could do that. So I don't know if Mahmoud, Asma, Ali, Moamen, Marwa, Khalid, I don't know if would any of you or any of the attendees feel like verbally presenting in front of everybody else? No? Okay, does not sound like a plan. Okay. So what we can do now then, so the question is, my question is, who feels like presenting? I have not shared what. Okay, so Omnia might feel like presenting. Okay, well, thank you very much. So what I want us all to do now is to take 5 minutes, okay? Just take 5 minutes to think of a strategy, to write down kind of a proposal strategy to tackle one of the problems that you've mapped. So you said, my school has these 10 problems. I want you to focus on one that it's critical because it's part of culture, it's part of relationships, it's part of assessment, like something large, okay? And then I want you now to think in 5 minutes, okay, let me draft a strategy to address that. So what I have done over the last hour is, first of all, talk about how critical culture is in a school and in any organization. Then I moved into how to shift the culture of one school using passion-based learning. Then I moved to how to shift the culture of 10 schools at once through passion-based learning and through a platform and through a community of practice. Then we've moved into what are your problems, each one of you, to all the attendees that are here. What are the problems in your school that you want to tackle? So what I'm asking you now is to create a little strategy saying, okay, if assessment is a problem in my school, how could I tackle? And you just put some ideas there. Yes, on how to address that. Like, what are some things you could do to address that? Yeah. Is that understood for everybody? Like, is the exercise understood? I would like to see, thumbs up or thumbs down. Thumbs up. Okay, so the exercise is understood. Yes? Okay, perfect. Good. So what I'm asking you now to do is take 5 minutes individually just to write down a little strategy to tackle a problem that you have in your school. Okay? After that, what I will ask you is that the ones who want to volunteer to share that strategy verbally so we can give each other feedback. Yes? So we can role model and we can replicate a little community of practice exercise, a little critical friend group, a feedback protocol. Okay? All right. Yes. Okay, I will just type in the chat so everybody has it. Yes? Okay, so when thinking about drafting a strategy, what we can do, or something that we do, is to differentiate between a symptom of a problem and the root of that problem. So, for example, learners not doing their homework, it's not a problem. It is a symptom because it's illustrating that something is happening. Yes, something in depth is happening. Or, I don't know, like all my teachers quitting in my school every end of semester, it's a terrible problem because it means, well, I mean, it's not a problem, but it's a symptom of a deeper problem, which maybe is that my leadership is awful. So my school leadership is awful. That's why my teachers, at the end of the semester, they leave to another school. So what I want us to do is maybe to think about these two layers. What is the symptom? What do I see? What is the problem? What's causing that symptom? Yeah. Okay, so let's take, let's just take 5. Let's take 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, I see a very good example here. Omnia, is it okay if you volunteer and you share out verbally in the call with everybody else? So what I have asked everybody is to say, okay, what's the symptom that we observe in our school, or in our community, in our classroom? Second, what is the root cause problem that creates that symptom? And third, to draft a very simple, very little strategy to tackle that problem. Okay? So Omnia, is it okay if you share? Yeah. What I would like to do is to create a feedback protocol. So if you could share, Omnia, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So the main problem that I face, I teach kindergarten in a school. The large number of children in class cause many problems. The most clear symptoms of this is that children get bored and they start cause problems in class. They start losing their focus, and also it may be because another root cause is the day is too long for kindergartners to stay in class for that period of time, so they get bored, actually. What also make it hard to prevent it is that there's not enough teachers to distribute the children in small groups or take them outside of class without putting them in danger of someone slide on something or get himself hurt, or without proper observation actually outside class. So I think these are the main symptoms and root causes that I see.
Omnia, thank you very much for sharing your case. Okay, so now in this feedback protocol, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fake. So I would need another volunteer. Can someone else volunteer, or maybe in the chat? Yeah. So what we're gonna do is Omnia. We're gonna fake. It's a role play. Omnia is our client, and she has come to us with a problem and with the analysis of the root cause of that creates that symptom. Yeah. So what I want us to do is to give, first of all, to ask questions to see if we understand Omnia's challenge, and then to propose solutions. Yeah. Okay. So one question I have, Omnia, if you can, am I pronouncing your name right? Sorry.
Yeah, Omnia, correct.
Omnia. Okay. Thank you. So the question is, you said kindergarten, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you said is that the children get bored because the day is long and there are not enough educators to run activities that would be more engaging for smaller groups. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So now what I'm going to ask everybody else is to say, has anybody else had a similar problem in their classroom? On your experience as a teacher, have you had a similar problem at some point? No? Okay. All right. So maybe in this protocol, Duha, you have had a similar problem. Okay. And can you share, Duha, how was it and what have you done?
Well, what I tried to do was that I tried to prevent it by having the groups understand, and if they feel like they're losing interest, that they should go ahead and just tell me, like, I can't, I can't do it, I can't focus on what you're trying to say. What is it, like, do they need a break for some sort of reason and stuff like that? And if that still doesn't work, I managed to balance the classroom out, where the calm students they can go and sit with the students that try to cause more noise or try to disrupt the classroom. And that was the way that I tried to tackle this issue.
Okay, that is a very good point. Another one. Okay, I would like to hear from other people. Have you had a similar problem in your experience as an educator? So in this part of the protocol, what we do is we share out our examples, our realities, our best practices, so we can just combine our experience here. Okay, so maybe what I would do, because Omnia, what I understand is it is very difficult for you and your colleagues to go out of the school and to do other activities outdoors because you are understaffed, right? So there's no enough teachers to do that. So what I would do is, I mean, maybe you have to verbalize that to leadership and say, hey, we're having this challenge, and present it into leadership from the point of, if we don't tackle this challenge, the quality of the learning, it will decrease, and the experiences the learners have, it will decrease, and this can have an impact on the churn rate, and maybe some families will leave, right? So I think it's something that you have to bring up. From me, honestly, what I feel is this challenge it's a systemic challenge that includes many different pieces, and you should tackle as a group, as a school, and to address it all together. Because this, I feel, is something that you cannot do exclusively on your own, because it has multiple dimensions here. Okay, so that's what I would do. Okay, so now we're about to wrap it up. We're not about to wrap up the call, the workshop. And but before, what I would like us all to do, sorry, I see that Ash also has shared a problem here. Importance of doing assignments. Okay, I see. So Ash, so on this one that you share, I think a good point would be that, you know, the concept of flipped classroom, like the flipped classroom concept. So what I would do is to say, hey, learning, so you learn something not only when the teacher explains it, but when you get familiar with it through an explanation or reading materials, then you experience it, you implement it for real, in real life, and then you reflect on it. So if you don't do this 3-step cycle, familiarize, experience, reflect, familiarize, experience, reflect, familiarize, experience, reflect. So if you don't go through this cycle, then you don't learn it. If you attend one day into a session and a teacher says something, it does not mean you have learned that. It means that you get familiar with it. But if you want to learn it for real, you have to familiar with it, experience it, and reflect about it. Okay? So I would, to build a strong learning culture, we have to help our learners to be cognizant of that and to be aware of that and say, hey, students, you're not learning if you don't go through these different steps. Okay? So it's important you go through these different steps. And we can say assignments is a very good way to do your experience. So doing your assignment is your way to practice what you get familiar with it in the classroom. So you get familiar through the teacher in the classroom, and then you practice it, you put it in practice, you experience it through your assignments. And then you go back in the classroom and we all reflect together, okay? Good. So now, yes, we're gonna close. We're gonna close here. We're soon to close. What I want to do first is, well, on one side, let me share with you the protocol that we just used. So it's called the WISE Circle Protocol here on the chat. Okay. No, thank you, Ash. Thank you. Shukran. Thank you. So here we have a protocol of the WISE circles for feedback. Then also I want to share with you all more information about LearnLife, about our organization. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, LearnLife is an organization that wants to make a positive impact into the world of education, wants to be a positive driver and influence into the world of education. And we have our own schools. We support other schools in HR aspects, but also like recruiting people, but also we do a lot of training. So we support many schools through training, as I shared in those previous examples. We are helping hundreds of educators right now in different countries. So I encourage you to have a look at our website, to download the brochure with all the information of our courses and how we can support you and your school or your government or your region to move from where you are to where you want to be, okay? So now, before wrapping up, I would like everybody to share with one word, what do you take away of this session? So if you can just put on the chat box one word to write it down of what do you take away from this session today, yeah? Just to remember, we've looked at the idea of culture and learning culture, pedagogical identity. Then how is that visible? Through the spaces, through relationships, through exercises. Then we moved into passion-based learning, how passion-based learning can positively influence culture. And we've looked at example of one school getting transformed and then 10 schools implementing and transforming. Then we've moved into what are our problems in our school? Like what are things that we face in our school that we want to change, okay? And right at the end, we've done a very quick little feedback protocol to give each other comments and to share out the knowledge as a group, yeah, as a community of practice in this call. So please do type one comment in the chat as a takeaway. What do you take away from this session? So Emma, she takes empowerment, like she feels empowered from this call. Thank you very much, Emma. Mohammed feels it's been a very useful conversation. Dalia's clapping her virtual hands. Thank you. Ash finds it interesting. Okay, what else do the rest of the people take away? I would be glad to hear.
Joan, while everyone's adding to that chat, do you mind if I just add a quick comment?
Absolutely.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to have had the session with Joan and to see so many of you here joining from the EduVation Summit. My word empowered was a nod to Walid and Omar as well. I know the focus of EduVation is about empowering education and futures. So hopefully we've helped everyone to feel that. But one thing I just wanted to really quickly mention was Joan did the workshop today. We also have another workshop happening with a colleague of ours, Letitia, tomorrow. That's happening at 4 p.m. Local time in Cairo. And it's an online session around how to help build a team and a culture that can really help drive learning innovation. Okay, so sort of building on what John was explaining about passion-based learning and how you can really empower learner autonomy, building on that to how you create a team that can take that forward. And then also just for those who are joining in person, the conference, we also have our founder Christopher Pomeranian will do a keynote presentation on Saturday morning, and Adri, one of our learning guides at the Urban Hub, will do a workshop on Saturday. So quite a lot happening, and I just wanted to mention that in case people want to join subsequent follow-up sessions with LearnLife.
Thank you very much, Emma. And I want to once again thanks everybody who joined the call, who interacted in the chat. Yes, for making the time. Shukran to all of you. and Masal here. Good afternoon to everybody, and see you around. Bye bye. Thank you. Cheers.
فرح ممكن تاخدي تدفعي؟ فرح تاخدي تدفعي؟
Joan, I see there's someone's raised a hand. I don't know if there's time for one or two last questions or if we're closing the session. I just see that Naveen Mustafa has raised a hand.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I've seen is that also, like, some people sometimes raise the hand to, yeah,
that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. They sometimes raise it to say bye. You're right. That's probably
awesome.
what
Well,
it might have been.
thank you very much, everybody. Bye bye. Have a good one.
Okay, thanks, Joan. Just to confirm, we'll be sending round after this as well. So just the link that Joan shared about Learn Life, ways that Learn Life can support organizations and your own schools, and we'll be sending around the info about that afterwards. And we have a follow-up event in May in Barcelona called Inspire on the 9th and 10th of May. And again, you'll be sent information about that too. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.